Everybody, this is the Aquil Ali Show live on Mimi TV and Facebook Live. And the pre-recorded, edited version will be available for you on Monday on my YouTube channel, the Aquil Ali Show, the Aquil Ali channel. We're talking, because of Black History Month, we are discovering and researching our history, people. And the topic of this discussion is slavery under a new name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would think slavery's done, it's over, it's no such thing, unless he's talking about sex slaves and stuff like that. No. There is slavery under a new name.
Filed in 1941 when they turned slavery into unlawful labor, meaning that, okay, they would just point you out. Okay, now if you look at the statute for the 13th Amendment, what it says is that slavery is unlawful, but it doesn't give any statutes of
consequences
if you do it. So they flipped the script. It's called peonage. What happened was when the American states, the Union, took over New Mexico, Mexican government had a such thing called peonage. So that if you are a store owner or a company and someone became delinquent on their account, they can take them and put them to work for a year. So what they did was, you had more rights as a slave, black people, because it was a life-term commitment.
Investment.
Yeah, an investment. That body of work would at the time, you had slaves from birth into the elderly age. That happened because
Shawnee just brought it up. Incarceration. We're gonna get to that. You brought up a very
what happened was they switched it and they criminalized the African American man and woman. Before the Emancipation Proclamation, African Americans, or so-called slaves, were profiled, and they would profile because they tried to enslave the Native Americans.
They tried.
That didn't work.
Nothing like they mapped
That's
it
like
in at all.
That's like trying to somebody come into West Philly or your local ghetto and say, "Oh, y'all gonna work for free."
That's not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen, right? Because you know the back roads, where to hide, where the guns at, and some more stuff, right? So the Native Americans did not work out. So they came up with the African. Now the African was profiled as trustworthy, hardworking, and dutiful. After the Emancipation Proclamation, that's when we as a people, became criminalized. Now, let's get this. In my research, I found only 5% of white America actually owns slaves.
We talked about that last week, and that was shocking. That was news to me. That was really informative and educational for me.
Right, because see, now that's the percentage. Now first of all, we only 13%. We were only 13% of the population, but at the time, when the Emancipation Proclamation hit, it flipped, and we became 80%, 84% actually of the prison population back then. Wow. So a lot of people was grabbed up. Now I'm not saying that everybody locked up does not need to be there, but this regime. Right. The aristocrats who turned it into a union, who turned it into this regime that we call America, what they did was they criminalized the black man. Yeah,
they turned, that's where you get the mass incarcerations from, so that they can hire cheap labor. Like the telemarketers, a lot of your telemarketers that are calling you, they're calling you from a prison. And like Q was bringing up, in the earlier times, they would do these mass incarcerations back then. That's so they could get the railroad work done for cheap.
Harvest time, they would go out and sweep black life. Yeah. So, maybe you don't need to be out there rolling dice. Maybe you don't need to be out there selling moonshine. Listen, they had a pig law in Virginia. Okay?
A pig law.
If you kill a pig unlawfully, give you 5 years.
Wow.
Felony charges.
Wow.
Okay? And the pig was only worth $1 back then.
So they willing to spend, well, no, they willing to earn income off of you just for that $1 pig, because they know you. If you hungry, you're gonna slaughter that pig and gut it and get what you got to get off of it to eat.
Some of our ancestors were in fact enslaved. Okay,
True story.
we know this, but trust me, that was a lifelong investment, and you couldn't just roll around shooting somebody else's
Slave
property.
Yeah, and that was a slave was somebody's property. Yeah,
right. So they would ask questions. We don't have that now.
No.
In the headline news, people getting shot in the street just for being black, driving black, right?
Yeah.
What my white folks got to understand, I'm no longer blaming you for slavery. I'm not doing it because y'all didn't have slavery.
Right.
What y'all have done is fell for the same dupe we had, which is we supposed to oversee those people, because was freedom even worth it?
Well, you're absolutely right. When you put some thought behind it, we have protection as slaves. And I know that sounds crazy to for most people today, especially if you're wrapped in this beautiful brown skin. That sounds crazy, but you had protection as a slave. Because before they just haul off and shoot you or beat you or do something weird to you, the first thing they're going to ask is, where are you going?
Yeah.
Where are you coming from? Who do you belong to?
Exactly.
Oh, I belong to Mr. Jones. And we know Mr. Jones. Go on, hurry up and get on home now.
What cracks me up about this whole situation and this whole con job that went down on my people is the fact that every other nationality had carte blanche. The Italians, the Irish, the Chinese, all these other ethnic groups that came to America did not have the actual foot on their neck to prevent them from succeeding. You gotta understand, this is a nature of thinking that everything that we do should be free.
It should be.
So they had a problem with actually paying us. But see, one thing about this criminalization, what it's done is it took out the fact that you can't work your slave for so hard.
Right.
So what they did was, okay, we make it criminalized, and it even says in the statute, you cannot enslave somebody unless they are a vagrant. So you don't give nobody no jobs. Guess what? They are all vagrants.
Right.
Okay? That's the first kind. The second one was, hey, these people are criminalized. They started the propaganda. This is what they do. So you find yourself watching that person a little tighter, being a little short with their development or production at work because they don't deserve that.
Right.
So we got to break the mentality, people, that, listen, this is a hiccup in our history, and both sides have been duped. And that's real talk. Both sides have been duped.
Yeah. Into a jacked up
white
way
folks
of thinking
that they are superior.
Yeah.
And Africans or black people thinking they're inferior.
Yeah. Let's bring back the way of thinking of the Black Wall Street.
Right.
We as a black people, we are the only ones that make these purchases that don't nephrisize. By that I mean, for those of you that don't know the meaning of the word nephrism, that's when you set up a shop and you hire your own. Yeah. That's when you support your own. You're always putting back into the community of your own. Now, when you go to you got Chinatown, you got Little Italy, you got Little Greece. I ain't never seen a Little Africa. Unless it's at the park for the African festival for that day. That's
the point I was trying to make. It's like we were all on the same level. In 1965, okay, 65% of white folks was under the poverty level.
True.
1/3 could not even read. So how they wouldn't even fix financially to really enslave you. But they were part of this regime to make them feel better, to give them something to grab onto, to bring themselves up to the bootstraps on the backs of black men and black women. Yeah. But here's my argument, and we're going to talk about this more extensively next week when we talk about where we are in black as far as black love. Because first thing, I'm a universal kind of person, but I also got to teach my people to change their mentality, because I keep preaching this. Perception is first, people. Perception is first. You got to understand, my people, that you are descendants of kings and queens and ruled for over 209,000 years.
Yeah.
We taught the world how to count.
We taught some how to bathe.
We taught the world how to bathe. You know, come on now. Y'all was in dark ages, cramping in the street.
Right.
Okay.
Dwelling in caves and whatnot.
We've invented the water system, the aqueduct, I believe it's called. Aqueduct. Yeah. Okay. And your alphabet.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to ban Muslims out of it? We taught you how to count, gave you a number system,
and the
alphabet.
And classical music, the piano, the harp, the violin. A lot of that is from Africa, and a lot of people don't know that because they used to say all the time. They still say it now. You want to hide something from a person, put it in a book. Right. No one wants to read or do research anymore. Everything, especially now with the way today is, everything is internet. No, go microfiche. Microfiche is a little computer at the library where you can see the paper on a file and go research about yourself. Slavery is not the beginning of our African American history. Slavery interrupted African American history.
Right. And that's just the slavery part.
That's it.
Let me tell you, that thing went past the Emancipation Proclamation because, listen,
some of the laws are still in effect.
September 9th, 1941 was the first person that got locked up for having a slave. 1941. And when I was doing this research, because I remember those conversations that my mother, father, and my grandparents had about their parents. And I was like, well, I'm trying to do the math. And I'm like, wait a minute, I thought slavery ended. No.
They just took the word away. Now think about this.
No.
The Emancipation Proclamation says that you can't own a slave, and it's not, but at the same time, that's like freeing a bird with a brick tied to his back. Yeah. You have no rights. You can't vote.
Right.
You can't get a job.
Right.
You can't own property.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You're going to do whatever you have to survive. And then you click on survival mode and you start doing whatever they want you to. A lot of people don't know that. I live in Delaware.
Right.
In Delaware, there is still a law that says that a group of 5 or more African Americans cannot be outside in a group. That's against the law still. In 2017, that is still against the law in Delaware. That law has never been changed. And you can be blocked up for inciting a riot. We still are not allowed to. Yeah, you still cannot be. You still cannot be outside after 10 p.m. if you are an African American. So when you get pulled over at 10, 11 o'clock at night, you better hope and pray you don't buck up on one of those racist cops that know what's good in America and just want to jam you up because they can.
Right.
Legal does not mean right. But
and the fix was crazy. When Lincoln died. First of all, Lincoln only did this to cripple the South.
Talk about it.
He didn't do that.
He didn't do it because he loved black people so much.
He did not. Let's cut that shit.
He did that because white Americans were needing jobs and needing money. He didn't give a darn about us as black people, and it still turned them into one of us. And it also
helped cripple the South. See, if I'll snatch your labor force that you're making money from.
Yeah.
Okay. When I snatch that from you, that's gonna hurt.
It is, and it did.
And the biggest thing was the money. Like Ben Franklin, when he helped with the American Revolution, he went to France. Right. He brought some hoes with him and some more stuff, and they got a party, and he cut a check.
Right.
Same thing for the Civil War.
You better believe it.
Okay. Now, you cut their money off, you're trying to,
they don't
hurt their cause, and that's the situation. Then after the Civil War, what did they do? They left. And the Southerners is mad because they didn't fight and some more stuff. What I also found out is that brothers and the sisters who actually fought for the British in the Revolution, and Britain held to their deal. Kept their word even in defeat. Yes. So shout out to Britain, even though they ain't give him nothing when he went back. Because they took something to England. I found that.
Yeah, they did.
But that's how the black folks got to Australia. They dumped them off in Australia.
On the way.
And Sierra Leone. So shout out to my peoples from Sierra Leone. I got some family out there. And they've always said they the comeback kid.
Wow.
They the people that took the British deal. Now, what disturbs me and what I'm going to bring it up in our segment of Black Love next week is that I believe, this is my take on this, I believe that our black women have took that continental deal. Okay? What did y'all do? Y'all have endured the greatest disrespect. Our black queens have been historically raped by their oppressors, and slave owners.
Yeah.
Now, notice I said two different factors: the slave owner and the actual oppressor.
Yeah.
Because a lot of white folks got that mixed up. Just because you watching this, or listen, you still was wanting that paycheck, and that's what they think. Oh, get a Southern man who knows how to deal with the Negroes and all this old mess. You wasn't even slave owner, broke ass. So stop it. I'm not even gonna blame y'all no more.
Right.
I'm gonna blame the same Democrats.
Yeah, hello. A lot of people don't know democracy did that. Democrats started slavery.
Democrats. What they did was drop the ball when they won.
Yeah.
Okay? They dropped the ball when they won. And the only reason why they gave it up and put some statues behind 1941, because they had a choice. They said, listen, are we going to stop the Jim Crow? 1941 now. Because they needed the brothers to what? Fight in World War II.
Yeah.
My grandfather, it's the proudest day in his life, when he got his issue Ruger. I think it was what he called the P-38. He was so proud of that gun because it was, to him, it's not the first hammer in our family because it was a musket. It was the first firearm in our family, passed down from firstborn son to firstborn son. That's not what I'm talking about. He was so happy to finally be looked at as a soldier.
Yeah.
Not a vagrant, not a descendant of a slave,
right, not a subhuman,
jigaboo. A soldier,
yeah.
An American citizen fighting in his country, going over there fighting that oppression, coming back still getting oppressed. So they had the deal to make. And the deal that they picked was, we're going to make peonage, which is a slavery under another name, outlaw. That's what happened. So to me, slavery has not ended, but on the books, it didn't end to September 9th, 1941.
Yeah, on the books, that's what it says. But like I said earlier at the beginning of the show, you know, when you get that telemarketer calling your home, why do you think they have the mass incarcerations? So that they can make these men and women work for 22 cents a day. A day.
Right.
22 cents a day. If those ain't some slave wages, I don't know what is. Then they work all month, and they to get their, what, $10, $15, if that. But if you don't have anyone on the outside to put money on your books, what you gonna do? You need soap.
Now here's another thing. Here's another fact for you. 30 to 40% death rate for the people in prison during 1865 to 1941. So 4 out of 10 people would die from the harsh treatment of this so-called, oh, it's not slavery, this peonage, that this labor exploitation that has been on our people. Time that we need to embrace our position as a people, especially in here. Because if somebody got you tricked up here, okay, they got your family, your body, your soul, your family, their thoughts. Because your first teacher is what? Your mother and your father, okay? And my sisters, I think we've allowed them to dupe you to thinking, if the white man says something, that's right. That's law. Ask any black woman. I've seen it personally in my own family. White man say something, from my grandmother's on down, it's fact because he said it. And that kind of stuff. And
that's funny that you say that, because I was raised just the opposite. It doesn't mean just because it came from lighter lips that it's fact. I was always taught to investigate for yourself.
But that's somebody in your family trying to change your perception.
My great-grandmother, because her mother was slave. So she was like, no, baby. And it's sad, but she has always taught me that because whereas your family, if a white man said it's fat, where my great grandmother, she told me if a white man said you better go check, they might be trying to jam you up or play with your head.
Right.
And I miss going down there for the summer with her because she was so full of knowledge in my
But
history.
I'm looking at this stuff and I'm doing my research, and let me tell you something, man.
Scary
They
or sad or both.
tricked up the white folks too.
They did.
They tricked up the white folks too. So for me, to the white folks out there, let me tell you something. Stop beating yourself up on that. Y'all was
You're not
broke
your ancestors.
too.
You're not your ancestors.
That's
And you've been
number
brainwashed
one.
right along with us.
Right. Right.
You've
and
been brainwashed right along with us.
That's what's scary about this whole trick job, con job called the impression of my people. So, hey, listen, people. Hey, listen. Education, your own research will free you from the slave mind. And then they tricked us up too as black men.
Oh, you better believe it.
You had a choice. And it was positions on the plantation. Now, one position was the peculiar. Peculiar is the root word for pimp. Their job was to have the scheduled pregnancy schedules for these sisters to have stronger black butts. Because the only way before they freed the so-called freed the slaves, what they did was they had to multiply their investment.
Yeah, so they use men for like somebody has pits. Right. They love pits. They breed pits.
Right, breed.
They would breed us as black people. They would have men that were studs. Right. If you two your wang don't work, you can't be a stud. Right. If you're fortunate enough, you get to work in the house. If you can keep your mouth quiet and keep your ears closed, you work in the house. If you just black and you got a strong back, guess where you're going? You're going to be in the field. That's how that goes.
And I'm going to tell you another thing. Okay, brothers out there, if you cheating on your wives, if you running away from your responsibilities, if you hurting that sister any kind of way, you are playing you're playing in his game.
Yeah.
When I say his, I'm talking about the original aristocrats. I'm talking about the people that put American Express on the map. Yeah. I'm talking about the cats that
Rothschilds, Rockefellers,
and that you're playing right into their game.
You better believe you
right
are.
into Jim Crow game. They're not to be trustworthy as a husband, as a man, as a father. See what I'm saying? That's the whole trick game, and it keeps
they don't want us to stick together.
It keeps perpetuating the proper live zone through our music, okay, through our movies, through our thinking. Even the little stuff that we are reading. What's it telling you to do? Like something else.
Yeah.
Okay? Hold on to your kingdom, because your kingdom is your family. It's your unit. It's your circle around you. And if you ain't got it together, black man, if you ain't got it together, you're falling in the same slave mind that they've been trying to shove down your throat, your father's throat, and his father.
Like, a lot of people don't. I don't know if you've thought about this, but we as a black people, we get angry, and then we want to. If we're not marching, then we want to riot, burn some stuff up. But look at what you're doing. We got the Watts riots. That was happened before I was even born. Right. I'm 45. Watts is still jacked up to this day. Then they had the LA riots. What, in the mid to late 70s? That part of LA is still jacked up.
But see, they'll let you tear your own nation.
Oh yeah, but they ain't gonna help you rebuild it.
Try that in Beverly Hills.
Or Hockessin, or one of those fly areas, right?
Try that in Beverly Hills and see what happens to you.
Hello?
Ain't nothing getting burned down. They gonna handle that.
They gonna get to you real quick. Sorry.
ASAP.
They gonna get to you real quick. Yeah. And then you think about when Rodney King went through his thing. That part of LA is still jacked up. When you tear up your own community because you having a fit of rage, they're not gonna help you rebuild it. So you might want to think about some stuff. Hold on to your dollar.
Yeah.
Hold on to your dollar. They tell us all the time, go back to Africa, get out of here, go back. But if we were to all put our coins together and build some ships and things and decide we out, America's going to be in the crippled cross face. Please believe it.
So, then it was, okay, y'all going to let them free, huh? They don't even deserve it. That's the thinking.
Yeah.
Back in 1865.
What can they do for our communities? We don't need them.
1899, the government, the federal government, the federal Supreme Court, Plessy versus Ferguson, ruled in favor of the segregation that was going down south.
I'm sorry. Y'all can take this how you want to, feel how you got to, but this is just my opinion. Segregation was one of the worst things that ever happened to us as a black people. We didn't have all these little disrespectful children and none of that crazy stuff until we start mixing and mingling with. We just didn't play that. We don't play that. That's just my personal opinion. It's an opinion. Don't get your panties all in a knot because I have an opinion. But that's, to me, I would be fine with my child going to a 1950 style black school. I'd be okay with that. I really would.
Hey, listen, man. They had over 100,000 black families write the president back in 1903, Mr. Theodore Roosevelt. None of the letters got answered about this simple thing. Things didn't get real for America until we say they behind again in another war.
Just like they ain't call us lazy till we stop working for free. Ain't that funny?
Yeah.
Ain't that a coinky thing? We don't work for free no more. Now we lazy, right?
Exactly,
all right.
exactly.
That's how you feel. That's fine.
Yeah. So, hey, listen. So when the people tell me emancipation, proclamation, all that, listen. Unless it was some statues behind it, some weight to it. You know, come on. Oh, it's legal, but we don't know what we're going to do to you if you do it.
You get caught doing it. There was no set punishment. Like, you already know if you get caught speeding, depending on just how fast you're going to either get a ticket, you might even have to spend the night in jail. Yeah. You might get your car taken from you. You might lose your license. We already know what's going to happen. Whereas back then, if you got caught having a slave, knowing that it's illegal, and that America is saying, no, we don't do this anymore based off the Emancipation Proclamation. It didn't say you was going to get jail time. No. It didn't say that you were going to lose any piece of land.
First kicks, 1941, people.
Nothing happened.
Now, remembering those stories from my grandparents, yes, because that's straight up slavery.
Yeah. Okay. And then you think about this, too. The slavery is what made it, what started our police force. I don't know if a lot of people know that. Slavery was the catapult for the police force. Because the police force originally was designed to catch runaway slaves.
Right.
You commit a crime, they duke it out, shoot you, do whatever. I'm going to handle that myself. But now we got these runaway slaves. We need somebody to go round them up. Do your research. Please, I always say it all the time. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research. But that's the origination of the police force that we have today.
Right. Well, listen, it's still going on today. I live in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, people.
I live in Newcastle, Delaware.
We have one major prison out here. It is George W. Hill. George W. Hill makes $45 million per year.
And you got to do some research on that, too. Find out which one of these prisons, a lot of these prisons, in fact,
private prison, by the way. Private.
Yeah, they're privately owned. Yeah. And they're all about money. They lock you up for money.
It's $100 cover charge down at George W. Hill.
Wow.
Everybody comes in, they take $100 out your pocket. If you got it in your pocket, they got you. If you don't, they'll charge you with it. It'll be in your fines
on the release date. So we go, you did your time. You work for nothing, and now we're going to send you a bill.
If you don't pay the first time, they say you get locked up again.
They double it?
They double it.